The Skylander series was great, and despite the flaws, every game had some interesting, good thing to them.
While Skylanders Imaginators was admittedly the weakest game in the series, I wouldn't say anything harsh like this game shouldn't exist, because there's still plenty of good things about Imaginators.
You know what? I'm open to conversation. Perhaps I treated you too harshly. I gotta say, I never thought that one day the almighty algorithm would recommend my video enough times to get me nearly 30,000 pity views and 1,000 likes, which is just quite crazy. But easily the most interesting part of this random explosion is the comments. I amassed quite the nostalgic audience that largely enjoyed the tribute and loved sharing their own thoughts, opinions, and experiences. Some people agreed quite a lot with what I said, such as Captainita and Mighty Mortha, along with this beautiful compliment from Will. But then in the other corner, there were those that disagreed. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm completely fine with people disagreeing. I enjoy a good debate and seeing other people express their opinions. If you enjoyed Imaginators, I have absolutely nothing against that, and if anything, I'm glad that you did actually get something out of it. So with that being said, my opinion hasn't really changed in the slightest, and I still think Imaginators is dog shit. Take this viewer, for example. Sorcerer SMC decided to make an essay's worth of paragraphs for a response, pointing out many of the flaws in the first 5 games and things that they greatly enjoyed in Imaginators. Or what about this commenter? Chrysia decided to comment their ranking of the games, and although I see Spyro's Adventure being near last as a war crime, this person put the exact, well-thought-out reasons on why their ranking was the way it was. But the main theme I saw in every comment that disagreed with me was always something about either Imaginators being far better than I said, or Superchargers being far worse than I said. So this video is an official deep dive into everything I could think of, from story to gameplay to the cost to characters. I'm going to play through these games entirely, and do so probably multiple times. Not only that, I will look at online playthroughs, trailers, soundtracks, and everything I can find to prove to you once and for all that Superchargers is God's art compared to Imaginators. But first, it would be dishonest of me to make an entire in-depth review of the latter 2 games in this franchise without covering what made the first 4 so special. It's basically unanimously agreed at this point that the first 4 are at least very kinda good, and the last 2 are often caught in the middle of a big debate. So what did make the first 4 good? We'll watch my first tribute for a quick review of all 6 games, but, in short, there are a lot of factors that make the originals great, but also things that make them a lot less so. Graphics and controls are very much on the side of Swap Force and Trap Team, while nostalgia and storylines are very much on the side of Spyro's Adventure and Giants. However, to make this video not like 3 hours long, I decided to make a list of roughly 5, 6, 7-ish things that were really present in the first 4 that made them good, unique, special, etc. And I would say that despite the ups and downs here and there in Swap Force and Trap Team, a good, largely consistent and well thought out story was present in these times. So I would hope that it continues through the next 2. The characters in Skylanders are also distinct in their own fun ways. Chaos was well written, Eon and Hugo as well. The chemistry between characters like Flynn and Tessa was great. So I would expect good chemistry, personalities, and arcs in these 2 games. Okay, and I also don't exactly know how to explain this next topic, but it's the gimmick, like the giants, the swappable characters, and the traps. So in Superchargers and Imaginators, the cars and creation crystals, whatever. How they work, feel, and affect the gameplay and story will really help the games here. Also, the levels, the unique looks, feels, gameplay, secrets, and everything about the levels made a lot of classics for the originals. Unique environments in Giants, epic designs in Swap Force, smooth gameplay in Trap Team, and fun mechanics in Spyro's adventure. All of these elements should be present to make a good level in the latter two. And lastly, overall enjoyment. This is a lot more based on personal preference, but it's a combination of levels, cost, side quest, music, and overall design. Blah blah blah, bunch of stuff. So with all of that being said, it's time to explore the ruins and take a deep dive into the two most dividing games in the Skylanders franchise. Superchargers versus Imaginators. The Darkness. The most powerful, most evil, and most whimsical, for some reason, villain in this franchise. It was created long ago after a mishap with the newly constructed and very powerful Rift engines. And now that the darkness was unleashed, it spread its evil far and wide. This gives an explanation for hundreds of characters, artifacts, and levels throughout the game series. This is supposedly the foundation on which Chaos's powers stand on. The power behind Chaos's Hydra, the crystals from Swap Force, and the Doom Raiders. After our journey throughout this game series, you would expect the perfect ending of our story to be to defeat the embodiment of everything evil. So that's what we do. Chaos allies with the darkness, unknowing of its consciousness, and he uses it to its fullest extent. He destroys the very planet that we have been experiencing for so long, capturing our allies along with restoring Eon's physical body just to lock him up. With this new power, he constructs
the Sky Eater.
And with this, he cuts every possible link we have with Skylands. No more gameplay, no more good, no more Skylanders. But if the Rift engine started this mess, could they fix it? Hugo uses what little he has left in his cage to bring us back with the Rift engines, luckily built with powerful vehicles too. And with this, we break them free. And then...
If you are seeing this, I have been taken captive, and my worst fears are confirmed. Thanks to Chaos, the darkness has returned, and Skylands now faces its greatest threat.
Like that, the bomb is dropped. Everything is getting destroyed. Everything is falling apart in front of us. Time to fix it. Every level has a purpose. The Sky Breather helps us find Eon, and the Cloud Kingdom helps us construct the Core of Light, as do the Titans and Pomfrey. As we slowly construct the core, the skies become darker over the course of the game. And after some time, we befriend Chaos's old partner, Glumshanks, after the darkness forced Chaos into firing him. The once tall and mighty Academy was forced to run, piloted by one small ship. But right as we finish constructing the one thing that has been shown to defeat the darkness before, the music makes sure that this hits hard. Our only chance was destroyed in front of our very eyes, and it looks like our Academy is next. Instead of a big, hard-hitting beat, there's nothing. Although this would have been more impactful if it were a more important part of the Academy, it still wouldn't compare to the loss of one of the most classic characters in the series. But this is where we see this game's first fuck-up. Literally 2 levels later, we find him and save him. Listen, I get it. Killing might be a bit too extreme for this kid's game. I'm kidding. Chaos has clearly killed thousands with his Sky Eater, and we have killed hundreds of thousands of tiny characters forced to work for him. Killing Glumshanks would have made this game legendary. Although this part does pay off later, I feel like you still could have had a pretty hard-hitting ending without Glumshanks, having Chaos come to terms with him dying and it being his fault and blah blah blah. It could have been a cool arc. Anyways, we turn our eyes to the Dark Rift engine to finally defeat Chaos. If it started the Darkness's reign, surely could end it. An intense fight breaks out with Chaos. A visually impressive one, yes. Quite difficult also, but not the biggest fight. Which would have made sense if the actual final fight was actually worth it. After we win the fight, we are moments away from defeating the darkness when...
Boom! Boom! Something's wrong with my ball finger!
Uh-oh. Very impressive. I am on the brink of complete and total victory, and you're still fighting. Bravo.
But luckily, Chaos isn't all bad. Kind of. Throughout this game, it is shown that Chaos is basically the darkness's slave, forced to work for it, hoping he comes out on top. But he has accepted he just can't. And after hearing the darkness's supposed final words to our heroes...
Chaos! What have you done?
Chaos flips the switch. This is an amazing moment. He sacrifices his power, crown, technology, and status for happiness and for others. And after this heroic moment, the credits roll. But something isn't right. We are soon pulled into the rift with the darkness, and now our final fight ensues. And my god, is it so underwhelming. We literally just slap him a few times with our car, and that's it. I mean, whatever, I'll talk about it more later. But after all of this, we defeated all of the existing evil. Defeated. With Chaos on our side, Flynn gives one last boom! This should be the ending. Eon even said,
Everything that you have learned on your journey has prepared you for this moment. The malevolent reign of the darkness must come to an end, or we are all lost.
This is the near perfect ending, story-wise, that anyone could have come up with. So why not make a sequel? Listen, this has been a giant section, so I was going to try and keep this short, but let's be honest. You don't care, and I don't care. I'm willing to make an hour-long video to prove why. Why Imaginators is a failure of not only a story, but a piece of media. So here you go. Here is this plot that Activision has served us long ago. Literally, the beginning of Skylanders, the ancients used mind magic to create no, that's not how, no. This is already 2 scenes in. Bullcrap. This contradicts the last game's Rift Engine spiel, and even the Netflix show tries to retcon this retcon. That is how dumb it is. Anyways, after the Ancient Ones create creation itself, I guess put away the mind magic, or look, the story has so many plot holes that I'm willing to fill some in to make it better. So my explanation for the mind magic is, yes, the Ancients utilized this powerful tool that could do anything. Yes, anything, keep that in mind. But now that they created life itself and feel as though their job is done, they lock the power up inside of crystals as such, as to keep others from wielding their power. Look, it's a dog shit explanation, but at least it is an explanation. And I'm willing to go as far and say that maybe the destruction of the core of light, the dark rift engine, and the darkness, all of that could have destabilized the magic in Skylands, opening up the opportunity for Chaos to snag these mind magic powers. This would have actually made so much sense, but this game not only ignores Superchargers' existence, it also never even gave an explanation on how we or Chaos got the mind magic powers or creation crystals, so whatever. Oh, and then the senseis just appear. Yeah, they don't really have a background. In every single other game, they give an explanation as to why we're controlling these characters, and why not here? We just kind of happen to be here. We're just kind of controlling the characters. We don't get an explanation. They were never sent to Earth, apparently. There was never some new rift opening up like in Superchargers. So what's the explanation? Why can we control the characters in this game? Mind magic, I guess. But I will say, I do enjoy the concept of the old Skylanders retiring. I think it makes perfect sense, this happening right after Superchargers. But I don't think it was that well handled. But I mean, at least it was handled. In fact, I think that Imaginators was onto something in this category. Instead of making Superchargers the finale of the entire series, make it the finale of an era. in the beginning of this game, it could have been established that Chaos was now a good guy, possibly being a new mentor, with a retired Eon also off, being like a shopkeeper or something. It also should have established the old characters retiring and helping us throughout our journey. And the new villains could have been, oh, I don't know, what about the ancients corrupted with power and such? And say the creation crystals are a result of some collapse with the darkness and the rift engines, reawakening the ancients. And even if you don't like the idea of Chaos being good, we could change it to where Chaos starts off good and is swayed into being on the ancient side, possibly even destroying Skylanders Academy on his way out, allowing for a new main hub, fully cementing this as a new era of Skylanders, and boom, fixed your fucking story. Also, I was this close to congratulating you for being consistent with Chaos losing his powers after the last game, but then this. Okay, before I continue, let me reiterate. In the first game, Chaos's goal was to destroy the Core of Light and expand his empire. In the second, his plan was to become the leader of a massive Archean army to take over Skylands by force. In the third, he wanted to spread mind-controlling evilness using an incredibly god-powered volcano. In the fourth, he reassembled the most powerful evil team he could think of, so he could reassert their control to help him expand his. In the fifth, well, he already accomplished his goal. He just tries to keep power, but eventually rebelled against the thing that he thought was once helping him. And in this game, his goal is to make the strongest bad guy with mind magic so he can kill the Skylanders? Excuse me? This isn't a plot. He just wants us dead using tactics that he has already used in previous times. Hell, the good guys are just as bad. Our whole purpose is, oh well, some trouble is happening over here. Let's just go here, I guess, and stop him. There's no thought, no plan, no nothing. And until the end, I guess, we make a cake for Chaos to enter his base. My man says an all-powerful talking brain on his side, and he couldn't even see through this. Honestly, I wanted to let this pass because it's believable, but come on, Activision. This game is all about explore your creativity with the creation crystals, but it looks like Activision ran out of creativity after they came up with the creation crystals. Anyways, we break in, fight him, the brain switches sides, he goes Super Saiyan, and we win. It's stupid. You know it's stupid, and no, I'm not going to talk about the guacamole monster. The game ends with Chaos and Glumshanks in a jar. That's it. Look, Activision, if you want any chance to make a sequel to this, you should have left Glumshanks out of the jar, so he could break Chaos out and continue whatever narrative there even is left. But whatever, this is the end of Skylanders. Not this, or this. As you can tell, Imaginators doesn't even feel like it's the same franchise. Imaginators is so disconnected from the perfectly wrapped up story of the first 5, and because of it, the game fumbles hard. David Rodriguez wrote the story of Superchargers and Swap Force, while Adam Foshko, or Alan Ness, Google isn't really giving me a straight answer, wrote this game. And I just want to know what went wrong. If Adam Foshko wrote this, well, what happened? He worked on every game before this, and they turned out great. And Alex Ness helped write Giants and Trap Team. Listen, Activision, I know it's hard making a game, especially a kid's game with a coherent narrative that stretches over 6 games. But let me tell you, I'm 15. 1-5 can't legally vote, get married, drink, or anything like that. And I could have written a 6th game better. I can't program, I can't animate, I can't do any of that. I know that it is crazy difficult, and I respect that you were still able to do something. The programming for the creation crystals, my god, massive respect. That must have been a lot. But I know you could have done better. For example, they almost got me hooked one time in Imaginators. In case you didn't know, the brain, the ancient brain, isn't actually physically with Chaos most of the game. He was telepathically communicating, but after Chaos retrieves him from the Golden Arcade, an absolutely random and stupid level, they have met up in person. And after this, they combine forces and mind control all of Skylands, which was almost a good plot point. In fact, I only have 2 problems. However, those 2 problems are kind of like the biggest things of the whole trip. Whatever. My problems are they don't do much with this at all. It was only Spyro and a couple others that weren't affected by this, so I thought that they would have to stop Chaos alone. This would have been such a cool concept, like having people in the academy turn on them, or having to fight the retired Skylanders, similar to some of the fights in the first game. But instead, at the end of the very next level, everything is reversed, and it was just a useless plot just to expand the runtime of this game, pretty much. But how did they stop it? Well, that's the other bad thing. B, Spyro wasn't affected because of dragon magic. And we go to the dragon temple to find other dragons to reverse the spell, and then we do that, and it's over. That is genuinely the dumbest thing out of this franchise so far. The Superchargers storyline exceeded every expectation I could have had, while the Imaginators storyline crashed in every direction. So I mean, there's no way in hell that the characters could be worse, right? Let's go ahead and get right into this one and talk about the characters we interact with. Not the Skylanders quite yet, but the other creatures and life we talk to. This can range from Flynn to Chaos to the Mabu. So let's go. Superchargers starts off with a Chaos narration, but I'm going to save him for last. Instead, I will start off with the classic game. We open up with Hugo, Callie, and Flynn trying to save us, and at first they are all portrayed as you would expect, but with some fun twists. Hugo is being smart and timid, but in the absence of Eon, he takes up a more mentor role and leader. Flynn too, in this opening scene, is just as funny, dumb, and hungry as ever. Him messing up the portal over and over made for a good level, but was a bit of a stretch for his character. But I mean, I can't get too angry when he is saying stuff like this.
Transport ship that's headed for who knows where.
I heard of that place. They've got great guacamole.
Callie unfortunately gets pushed to the side for a while. Her character in the beginning is just mad at Flynn, and it doesn't work at all. But when we get past the main opening, the characters become their own things. Hugo is the smart leader, Flynn is the funny pilot, and Callie is the brave but emotional fighter. Then we get to this scene, and although I think the book itself is kind of stupid, it sets up Eon's character. He clearly thought ahead, noticing just how powerful Chaos was becoming. Made this, and probably didn't fight back against Chaos when getting captured. These characters stay largely the same throughout the story, which is fine. Flynn and Hugo have honestly already have their own arcs in the first few games, but unfortunately Callie often gets pushed to the side. She could have and should have developed past Flynn's hard-to-get love interest. But whatever. Oh, and in Imaginators, there isn't much to say. Flynn is the same, but isn't even given nearly as funny lines anymore. Callie basically isn't even in this game, and Hugo is... I legitimately forgot what he did while writing that. That's how unimportant he is. And I mean, I kinda get it. They're trying to push the retired characters more into the limelight. But just throwing out all of the original characters, except for the comic relief, has never worked, and it will never work. Moving on to the side characters, Buzz's opening speech in Superchargers is not only a pretty good speech, but is also a pretty good introduction. He's established as the guy who knows a thing or two, because he's singing a thing or two. Mags is not my favorite, but her catchphrases are fun, and her introduction saying she has built 87 million devices was definitely a setup for her fixing the Corv light, so I will take it, I guess. They actually try to give Persephone a character this time, and although it doesn't really go anywhere, I admire the effort. Sharpfin is back in this one, and he apparently can upgrade rift engines. I don't know if I believe it, but I kinda like him, so whatever. So, quick question, can you guess how many of these characters actually matter in Imaginators? That's right. Not a single one of them. They have their moments, and yes, I get it. Buzz's moment was Trap Team, Mags's was Superchargers along with Sharpfin, but the fact that they are utterly useless nearly the entire time just does not sit right with me. Back over in Superchargers, the Cloud Kingdom's king's motives are stupid at best. Soft Paws and wannabe Mags, and let me tell you, Mags is not the one you should want to be. Count Moneybone has a fun fight, personality, and design, but I don't know, he feels like a replacement for Glumshanks for the time he is on screen, which would have worked if he wasn't defeated before Glumshanks was fired. Tessa comes back in a very believable and interesting way, but that is quickly thrown out the window, along with all of the fun interactions she had with Flynn in Swap Force. The garden lady, whose names I can't bother with, is pretty annoying, with bad motives, bad lines, and her level is set up as impossible, but it's one of the easiest levels in the game, but she isn't quite as frustrating as Pandergust. Oh my god, this guy's ego, his show, his everything is, oh my god, why? He feels like a villain, and he serves as the starting point for one of the worst things to happen in this game. Yes, I am being serious. Glumshanks. Glumshanks is one of the best characters by far. He goes through an arc in not only this game, but the whole series. He sacrifices his life, not for Chaos, but for us, the good guys. And then Panda Gut over here saves him and sells him off to the winner of his derby. But at least Imaginators doesn't have anything stupid like that. Right, Trigger Happy and Pop Fizz, and I can't believe I have come to say this after being some of the best characters to play as, they aren't funny, they aren't helpful. What are they? Annoying! Gil Grunt was kinda funny, Eruptor was okay, Jetpack kept switching between good and really bad. Stealth Elf wasn't the worst, and Spyro was actually almost interesting. If he took more of an actual leader role, he would have been pretty interesting. Overall, my opinion about the retired Skylanders is really good concept, but for this to work, I feel like it would have needed some reasoning. Say, for example, Chaos's Doomlanders invaded and maybe destroyed the Academy, and only the Skylanders and maybe Callie were able to escape. This would allow for Callie to develop a really unique and interesting arc, while some of the Skylanders would have actual roles instead of, hi, I'm a Skylander, here to show you thing and make joke and then pretend like I still matter for another hour or so. Spyro could end up taking the leader role Hugo held in the last game. Eruptor, Pop Fizz, and Terrafin would serve as some comedic relief, but also serve as the plot. Stealth Elf could be the new Buzz, and Jetvac could be the new Hugo. But that is an actual cool, creative, and unique idea. Silly me, I forgot this was Imaginators we are talking about. So let's move on to the sidekicks in these two games. No, not Glumshanks, we talked about him. The Darkness and the Ancient Brain. The Darkness was awesome. Great concept, near great execution. He is the second laziest boss fight in this series and cracks far too many jokes, but he is portrayed as a real threat with an actual hold over Chaos and Skylands. He is a villain. Meanwhile, the Brain, while kind of fun every now and then, was a bad concept, bad execution, bad joke, bad power, and doesn't really add much other than making this debacle happen. And speaking of this debacle, Chaos. Chaos goes through nothing in the first 4 games. He just tries, fails, then tries, and you get it. He never learns until now. He literally takes over the world, and because of the darkness, he pushes himself to go further, to a place where he isn't happy. He is forced to abandon his friends, kill hundreds, and along the way achieve nothing. Along the way, he thought he knew this was it, his moment, his world, his everything, and as the day he thought would be his best creeped closer, he felt empty. All of this represented in the finale when he fights for us. Sure, we beat him, but that doesn't change the fact that he has the chance to kill us and destroy our only chance of stopping him. But he doesn't, for his well-being, for our well-being, and to keep Skylands alive, to retaliate against the evil overlord who wants to watch the world burn. That is character growth. The game ends off with him on our side, and then when we think we are getting a speech from Eon, nope, it's Chaos. It's great. Now, what is this? In Imaginators, Chaos has no motivation, no arc, no reason, no joy. He's just bad because evil. His entire character in this game is, I want to beat the Skylanders. That's it. And look, Chaos isn't that smart, but he literally was seconds away from being the leader of the universe in the last game. So why is he an absolute moron in this one? His final fight is the worst fight in the entire franchise by far. His design is hideous, not only in that fight, but the entire game. What is this? Imaginators actually had some good moments when it came to characters. But then they throw this crap out and... But at least the creation crystals are cool. Supercharger cars are weird. From a story standpoint, I get it. The Rift engines are an integral part of the story and give a lot of explanation for many of the levels and events that occur, unlike the creation crystals. The vehicles also have a bunch of fun collectibles, additions, and upgrades, but past this point it's a mixed bag. The vehicles are fun and allow for new, unique levels, but every level requires you to beat all 3 vehicle-based challenges: water, sky, and land. So to beat the game, you have to buy at least one of each, and this makes the levels feel very short. The game pushes the vehicles onto the players so much that there isn't enough actual combat in between. Hell, most boss fights are in vehicles, and in my tribute video I passed this off as, well, at least the vehicles are fun, but at the end of the day, because of the vehicles, which, yes, are still fun, there isn't as much normal gameplay as we got in every other game. And this is worsened by Superchargers just being a short game anyways, and the game really suffers from this. However, the controls are fine, the racing is most of the time. The actual upgrading system isn't anything special in the slightest, but the extra collectibles and designs are kind of fun. I also really love their designs. There are only like 2 vehicles that aren't awesome looking. But the vehicles are at the soul of this game's biggest problems: the length, the cost, and even other stuff that I will end up probably discussing more later. So, for now, on to Imaginators. The creation crystals are one of the best concepts in this entire franchise by far. However, they aren't nearly as good in execution. They literally got the idea from years of letters from fans asking to make their own Skylanders. The idea just sounds too good to be true, and it was. You need to exploit a glitch if you want to reset the crystals class. You can actually beat the game without them, but nearly all of the collectibles and cosmetics are for the Imaginators, and the statistics system for the Imaginators is broken, especially the final fight. It is far too easy with enough high-leveled Imaginators, and honestly, Imaginators are way too human, and like, you get me? Torso, head, arms, legs, like, this is what a Skylander looks like. I don't want to make a rocky human, I want to make an emo Elmo dragon with spider eyes and ice breath. This is as human as the Skylanders get, and this is as human as the Imaginators get. Meanwhile, this is as weird as Skylanders gets, and this is as weird as Imaginators get. However, I do want to point out that this game came out years ago on a disc, so it's pretty impressive that they even got the human-looking Imaginators. The Imaginators aren't bad, but with a little more time, they could have been incredible. But I mean, even past the human stuff, it was a very fun addition that, while not anywhere near perfect, was easily the best part of this game. So yeah, they were both pretty equal, and if anything, I would say I like the Imaginators more than the vehicles, but not by much. So let's move on to, that's right, the levels. Alright, yes, welcome to the levels section. Let's just get right into it and start off with a comparison of the first and last levels in each game. In Superchargers, the first level is set up pretty nicely with the whole captured narrative, and Hugo bringing us back through the Rift engines. It's a quick, nice introduction to some characters and vehicles. After the Rift section, the level up to releasing our allies is also pretty fun and allows for a good, well thought out introduction. The level also looks incredible at pretty much every point in the game. The driving section also has an amazing feel to it, with the background sound effects, the scene, and various floating and broken elements. And I'll be honest, the driving, boating, and flying are not the best. I mean, it's pretty basic, but I expected that for an introduction. They are used in fun ways, but it doesn't really have a unique feel like the introduction or the fighting. Although one thing they get right in these areas is cohesiveness, which I think is a word. The level feels natural, it flows from start to finish, which is both aided and hindered by the chapter system. The level also doesn't end with a boss fight, which works very well for an introduction. The first level shouldn't have a boss, and the closest thing to it is this sort of army-style fight. On another note, can you guess which game has a level that ends with a boss fight? Imaginator's first level has no coherent flow, no narrative, and as such feels like a garbled mess designed to appeal to kids and teach you how to use a controller. The main retired Skylanders are all gathered together with Spyro and Stealth Elf racing each other, you know, to establish their characters. It's not like they've had years of their own personalities, charms, and styles that this scene just completely shits on. No, not at all. after their race, they get attacked by this, that, and because he stole a book, so we gotta go chase him, I guess. Also, this is just a nitpick, but when Spyro says that Master Yon sent someone who can help, and then a couple sentences later he specifies Imaginator, like, did he just not know who the Imaginators were, or is Spyro just dumb when he talks out loud? Because based on the Netflix show, I would think I know the answer. Anyways, the level just plops you here because they wanted to, and yes, while it is again a visually very pleasing place, it isn't unique, especially the second half of the level. Superchargers literally has an inter-level chapter system, and its levels felt more like one big coherent section than Imaginators. The second we enter this big rock, which apparently on the other side is an endless void, it feels like two separate levels, and it could have easily been two separate levels. Going with the invading the academy idea I had earlier, what if the first level was just the Skylanders invading this mysterious place, and they invade it as a way to try and get back at Chaos, and we find out why, who, and what happened. They could have even gotten their academy destroyed, and the first level is them invading this completely other base under Chaos's control, with the conclusion of that level ending up seeing the place under the Skylanders' control, acting as the new main hub. In this version, a boss battle could have actually worked. They could have made the level longer with multiple stages and ended on some, I don't know, big robot defense system that he upgraded using the creation crystals or something. Listen, it's not much, but it's way better than this. This level just manages to fail in every single turn. Skylanders Imaginators has a huge problem in every level, which is the lack of uniqueness. Every level, despite the vast differences in characters' appearance and challenges, they feel very similar, do they not? It's very difficult expressing this in this format, with me just talking over you looking at the levels. Then the only thing you have to compare each level to is the look and atmosphere, which are coincidentally the only major difference the level has. Every level ends with a boss fight, which are almost always started just because Chaos felt like fighting us. In Superchargers, he had motivations and reasons to be in every place he was. I mean, mainly because he was the ruler of the world and made a lot of other people do stuff for him, but they always had their own distinct purpose. In fact, most levels in most games were like this. And don't get me wrong, every game has some bad levels, bosses, enemies, and challenges, but when it comes up so frequently to the point where nearly no levels are unique because of their repetitive, annoying, and failing features, obviously it's not good. Imaginators tries to play down its very obvious stupidity with lines like "the very mysterious place" or "the ancient thing," which could have been a fun little thing we saw every now and then, but then the writers realized, oh wait, we don't actually have any creativity left anymore. No cool names, unique designs, or interesting topics. Let's just call everything we can't name within 5 seconds of seeing it something along the lines of "the strange thingy over in that area." And every time it might get a little repetitive for everyone over the age of 6, we just add in a little joke about the ancient ones being lazy namers. In Superchargers, don't get me wrong, there are quite a few repetitive and annoying bits, but not a single overarching piece of garbage that's spread across nearly every level. In fact, I tried to go through every Imaginators level, again, just to try and find my favorite in the game, one that isn't absolute garbage. Scholarville was an interesting level, but with a lot of boring stuff in between. Jetvac's Sky Fortress made sense narratively as a location and level, but the enemies didn't. And Chaos just once again appears out of nowhere, so there could be a boss. Not every level needs a boss. The Golden Arcade is visually very, very cool, but story-wise, it is a mess. Fizzland and Dragon's Temple were just boring retcons, with Fizzland's potion magic just being a worse Willikin village, and the Dragon Temple just being another lazy way to try and give the retired Skylanders a backstory. Overall, my favorite level ended up being not a level, but a section, the cake section. Gathering the ingredients wasn't quite a hassle I expected it to be. I honestly slightly enjoyed the chance of getting to explore all of these places, and it was to gather the necessary ingredients. I just wish the idea of the story was more original, but hey, no matter how you slice these levels, they all have good things, and they all have bad things, including the final fights. So here's my very deep and dark dive into the finales of these two games. Are you ready? The first half of Superchargers' final fight was fun. It was against Chaos until BAM! He switched sides. What an unexpected twist, except oh wait, The darkness is still alive, and oh my god, this is so underwhelming. This was hyped as the greatest fight we will ever fight. Our entire purpose and placement in Skylands has led up to this, and it's just a car chase. Meanwhile, in Imaginators, it's just a short fight against Chaos with a kinda cool design. With the right characters and matchups, this can literally be the shortest level in the entire game. Both of these games have the most disappointing final levels I have seen in any game in my life. But hey, I understand that you may like the stuff I trashed on. You may enjoy the absurdity of Imaginators and dislike the more complex nature of Superchargers. And that is completely fine. This whole video is me just trying to point out that past all of the opinions, the personal enjoyment, and the entertainment, no matter how you slice it, Imaginators is in every way a lazier, less complete, incoherent, scrambled together mess for kids. Superchargers was the first game that ever got me invested in its story, and I loved it, while Imaginators basically tries to avoid a story. And I mean, as a kid, I honestly enjoyed not having a deep story that I have to follow, and you could be the same nowadays. Superchargers has bad things, really bad things, and Imaginators has great things, really good things, and even past that, you might enjoy a more simple and absurd game style like Imaginators. You may dislike the look and feel of Superchargers. You may even enjoy the stuff I didn't like in Superchargers and vice versa for Imaginators. You can have whatever opinion you want. But like I said, even if you enjoy Imaginators, there just isn't denying that it is 100% objectively not worse, not by any means, but less good. And so with all of that said, I would like to dedicate this final section to all of my many personal problems, nitpicks, and opinions about random stuff here and there. So, yeah, here you go. The Skylanders franchise is full of a lot. Every game has their ups and downs. Giants, my favorite of the series, has some questionable graphics, easy bosses, and annoying puzzles. Trap Team, my least favorite of the first 5, has great characters, fun villains, and the traps. So what else could I possibly have to say about these 2 games? Well, to that I say, why are you asking? You see the runtime of this video, right? Alright, before I try to compliment Imaginators, I do have a few more quick complaints. The Superchargers soundtrack is pretty good. It is solid overall, with Rift and Overdrive being one of the best pieces of music I have ever heard, period. Imaginators soundtrack is 100% online copyrighted music that they paid to use. And, no, oh wait, actually, hold on. Okay, no, yes, sorry, that is not entirely true. There is some original music in here, but it's all slightly altered music from the past games. Grr! But ignoring that, here's something else I haven't really added on to these notes before. The music in Imaginators is, sure, not original, but is it good? And no, I'm not even saying personal enjoyment. I already know the answer to that. I mean, compared to the effort, love, thought, and time put into the original 5 soundtracks, does Imaginators soundtrack at least feel like a Skylanders soundtrack? No. I'll give them this. The main theme is very fitting and catchy, and a couple songs here and there are kind of fun. But overall, the soundtrack is not catchy, repetitive, bland stock music that doesn't fit in the series. It isn't special to the series, and it does nothing to make the game stand out in the series. Okay, but now I'm done with the negative stuff and we can move. Wait, no, one more thing. The graphics in both games are, yes, great, but the art styles and aesthetic are pretty subtly different. The Supercharger style is definitely more serious, cinematic, and sound, while the Imaginators has a jumpy, cartoony, and loud style. The movement of the characters, creatures, and camera pans feel very out of place, very childish, and very different from the norm of the series. In Superchargers, a simple camera pan feels like it's telling its own story. In Imaginators, you get this. The retired Skylanders in Imaginators don't feel like Skylanders because of their movement, speeches, and art. And the only reason they even slightly feel like Skylanders is because they are. The designs of the characters also reflect this. Chaos in Superchargers is definitely fitting of the role Evil Overlord. He looks menacing while managing to keep that funny, short energy. And then when the darkness begins taking over, Chaos's helpless and tiny side becomes kind of the main design. In Imaginators, he looks completely different and moves completely different, and his final boss is literally just Activision's attempt of, I don't even know. Okay, but now, Now I will be nice. Except no, one more thing. Every single game not named Giants has been very annoying when it comes to financials. Every game requires you to buy the figures, the gimmick, and guess what? In Imaginators, the loot chests. See, in Imaginators, you don't actually have to buy the Imaginators to beat the game, which, I mean, great. I mean, you do need one to start the game, but it comes with the starter pack. Of course, this is a problem for people that got the game in any other means of way, but hey, who cares about them? In Superchargers, you actually do have to buy at the very least one of every type of vehicle, and the starter pack only comes with one. I mean, at least the vehicles take up a good portion of the game, so it is somewhat worth your time, but the game is pretty short, so they could have come up with an alternative, but whatever. My point is you literally have to pay to beat Superchargers, but you are rewarded for it. The vehicles didn't cost much, and they allowed for so much more to be explored and advanced. It allows for you to find things that aid the story, characters, Skylanders, and vehicles. Meanwhile, in Imaginators, while you don't necessarily need them, every damn upgrade, collectible, and unlocked item is related to the Imaginators. So the game makes you think you need the Imaginators, you buy them only to realize you only bought them to use your collectibles. They are never useful, not to mention Activision added a loot box system, pay-to-win bullcrap, and the EA paradox. Okay, but now I'm sure that I have something nice to say. Nope! I can keep going! Are you noticing a bit of a pattern here? Superchargers has your average number of annoying side quests, but Imaginators tries to force the side quests into the main story, allowing for even more annoying side quests to appear. Going back to levels, Superchargers has a lot of unique devices and gimmicks to help advance the story, such as changing up the character's size to create a more fun, unique environment. And in Imaginators, all of the levels feel nearly the exact same. Remember me talking about this earlier? In Superchargers, the vehicles are introduced with relation into the story, with purpose, with meaning, with consistency. The Imagination Crystal's relation and story with the Ancient Ones is completely useless. The crystals could have come from anywhere with any purpose, and the story wouldn't change in the slightest. I made this section of the video to shine light on the fact that there are good things in Imaginators. No matter how much I dislike it, it has great stuff. But every corner I turn, I feel like Activision is purposefully trying to backstab any hope I have for the game. Good graphics, cartoony and unfitting style, fun gimmick, useless plot, a funny character, no purpose, an actual storyline goes nowhere. Skylanders, soulless, useless, unfunny, shoved aside, failed, comic relief. This series used to be simple. Skylanders used to be fun. Skylanders used to be special. I can sit here and yell at the game I dislike as much as I want, but it's clear that the real enemy here isn't the game. It isn't the story. It isn't the characters or the levels. It's Activision. Video games come and go every day. 1 minute, Among Us is the ruler of the internet. The next, it's just another speck in a desert, in a planet, in a galaxy that is the internet. It's very rare for a game to stick the landing and create not just a fun time, not just a quick YouTube trend, but a new culture. Minecraft has changed the internet in ways no other game can. Fortnite has revolutionized the shooter genre, Plants vs. Zombies has absolutely carried the mobile industry, and Skylanders created a genre. In the words of a wise commenter, when Disney tries to copy you, you know you're doing something right. Skylanders was something new. Skylanders was something different. The series was a beacon of hope. It was expensive and obviously a cash grab, but at least it had more than that. Skylanders had a story to tell, and even though I like to pretend that it ended on Superchargers, the truth is, the story didn't. The narrative did. The true story of Skylanders is simply a guide on how to create something that millions of people fall in love with, pouring their souls into it because it's amazing, but to appeal to the corporate overlords, they make it simpler. They make it more expensive. They make it less special. The truth is, as much as I like Superchargers for its bold story points and risk-taking, it has every right to be as bad as Imaginators, and vice versa. I've said it over and over, but if you like Imaginators, then like Imaginators. Nothing I have said in this video should make you dislike it. If you want to play it, do it. I didn't have a horrible time playing it. It's just the fact that I played it back to back with something I hold on a much higher standard. And so with that experience, I held the bar the same height for this game. And of course, it just didn't hit it. This video isn't about facts. This video isn't about opinions. This video isn't even about Skylanders. It's about Activision. and how they made a work of art, expanded it, and threw it into the same wormhole the darkness resides in. Imaginators is unique because it's so bland, it's so corporate, it's very nothing. And if anything, that was a bolder and riskier decision than any made in Superchargers. I applaud Activision's achievements, their unrelenting, burning passion to be as bland as it gets. And here we are, with Skylanders Imaginators, the game that unfortunately killed the franchise, that stuck with me and millions more for a decade. It's sad to see it end, especially like this. But hey, at least we still got that soundtrack. Roll the outro again, baby!